Hi, Harding Charter Prep. I wanted to provide you all with a little bit of guidance about MAP testing, which will begin next week. So I'm going to walk you through the HCP MAP Testing site on the HCP Faculty Hub. So we're going to begin by clicking on that little button, and it's going to take you to the MAP Testing at HCP page. The very first place that we're going to start off is this HCP MAP Testing Progress Tracker. So if you've ever MAP tested anywhere else, the way that we do it at Harding is a little bit different. And our reason for that is that really we've tried to take the burden of administering MAP testing, tracking what test students have taken, and all of those kinds of things off of teachers, and really let you guys just be proctors in the classroom to basically make sure that students are moving along. But we're trying to take some of that burden off of you, and then we run test administration as administrators from the central office. So we'll actually be doing this from Mr. Hughes' office next Wednesday and Thursday. We'll run block schedule those days. So students will test if they are freshmen, sophomores, or juniors in their social studies, science, and English classes. Okay, so the day of testing, I'm going to walk you through all of the different materials on this HCP MAP testing site or page in the order that you see them. So we're going to start with this very first thing, the HCP MAP Testing Progress Tracker. The reason that we're starting here and the reason that it's the very first thing is because as a proctor, this is probably like a majority of what you are going to be looking at. On MAP testing days, the way that we communicate with the teachers in classrooms is we will be updating the MAP testing information that you see right here. So I think I'm running freshmen, which means that all of the freshmen who, all of the entire freshman class will be in one MAP testing session. So even though they're all in this giant MAP testing session, it doesn't mean that we test all of them at the same time, because some hours they might not be. They might be in an elective or they might be in math. So even though everybody is dumped into this giant like virtual room, only some of them will be tested if they are in English, social studies, or science. So each block, what happens is we go to this page. It says session information. The session name will always stay the same. So for freshmen, it will always be grade 9. However, the password will change, and MAP sets that every time we reopen the grade 9 session. So every block, this will change. Let's say that we have, let's act like the first block is just finished. So they're an hour and a half long. So I think the class will end at 9:30. So at 9:28-ish, we'll close the first testing session and then immediately reopen a testing session. So let's say that we reopen the new testing session at 9:31 a.m. The password will change and it will be like new password kind of thing, right? Again, that will be assigned by MAP. Then at the end of an hour and a half session, we will reclose the session. And so this will change to like 11:01 a.m. And, you know, the new password will be something like baboon. You know, I mean, it's arbitrary, but this is how it will work. So at the end of every block testing session, we open a session, we communicate what the password is by putting it here. We tell you what time we've updated it. That way that you can make sure you're looking at the most recent information. And that's just the process after every single block. So at the end of the block and the beginning of the block. So that is what you will write on your board. You'll write session name, session password on your board so that students can see it. Over here, so I'm not going to show you these because this will be a public YouTube video. So I don't want to show you student names. So over here under example, like let's say that you were tracking freshmen. Let's say that student 6 is in your class right now, because if they're a freshman, you're going to have 160 people on this list, right? So you're monitoring student 6 because they look like they're not doing anything. They tell you, I've done all of the tests. So you get to come over here and open this example, and you get to see Like as the test administrators, we will mark an X after a student has finished their test. Once they have finished all 3 tests, what we do is we highlight it like that. And then that is just like a very quick visual to say like this student is done testing. So it would have, if we think that they're done, it will have all 3 marked and it will have the cell highlighted. And so once that happens, that confirms with you as the proctor that, yeah, this person doesn't have any more MAP testing. They can read, they can color, they can study, they cannot talk. So we're very strict about that because we need to make sure that classrooms stay quiet for everybody else who's testing. So that's this MAP testing progress tracker right here. Over here is the MAP testing schedule. So I've gone through and listed the teachers each hour who are testing, and I believe that this is pretty accurate, or I believe that it's totally accurate. That's my belief, and that's what I've double checked. So we can tell that like more teachers are testing first hour than are testing fourth hour. But basically, if you look at this and you are a freshman, sophomore, or junior core English, social studies, or science teacher, you should be on this list in the hour that you have those classes. Down here, this is just kind of almost like a Q&A about MAP testing and how we run it. So since some of you have never tested before, this communicates that we, as a test administrator, I'm going to run kids through all 3 tests. So they might be in your class and they might finish math in like 45 minutes. So once they're done, I will get a notification on my end. I'll see that in my testing session, and I will move that student on to the next test, which would be reading. And then finally, language. So that's how we move students along. It is a requirement that all of our students finish math and reading, and then we like to see at least 97% of our students also finish language. I mean, really, we want them to finish, everybody to finish everything. MAP testing proctor instructions. This is kind of wonky. I'll have to fix that. MAP testing proctor instructions. This is a guide for how you run, like how you proctor MAP testing. So you open this up, there's a link to the progress tracker, which I showed you as the very first document, that spreadsheet. It tells you that you write your session name and session password on the board. You are going to read the testing instructions to your students. I'm going to come back over here and just show you that if you kept on going down, here are your testing instructions. So this is what you read to students right here, the day of the test. I'll highlight the fact that number 2 says, please remember that your teachers will use these scores in several ways. It tells them what your academic strengths and needs are, and they will plan lessons that meet your needs. The school will also use your math scores to determine who will be assigned to Math IXL on Monday mornings and during advisory. So it's important that you read these to students so that they know what's going on. So back to this, the proctor guide. This tells you how you do things. So before students arrive, what you do. When students arrive, what you do. When we begin testing, if you have any difficulties, I'll be running freshmen, so you would text me. Mr. Campbell in this fall will be running sophomores, and then Mr. Hughes will run juniors. This tells you like a few kind of like helpful things to think about while you're running MAP testing. There are students who will probably rush through things and get paused. They'll have a sloth that comes up on their screen. When that happens, they get put in timeout for essentially 5 minutes. Like we get a notification that says that a student is paused. We are not in the habit of immediately unpausing them. The reason for that is that if they are paused for rapid guessing more than twice, then it invalidates their test, and then they have to start over from the beginning, and nobody wants that. I don't want that. They don't want that. So we just kind of give them a little bit of a cooling off period to help prevent that from happening. So this is an overview of all of the materials that are on the MAP testing site. Once this video is uploaded to YouTube, I will also put it here. And if you have any questions, Mr. Hughes will be talking to everybody about this for the last 10 minutes or so of your Late Start Monday on Monday. Hope you guys have a great weekend. I hope you're looking forward to getting some of this data so that we can see where our students are at. And please reach out if you have questions or thoughts. Have a good day.